For this class, you're going to want to have 2 blocks, a blanket, and a strap. And we are going to start seated. Go ahead and close your eyes or set your gaze somewhere on the floor in front of you. Start to kind of rock back and forth between your 2 sit bones. And then move through some pelvic tilts. So rolling the pelvis into a forward tilt. If it was a bowl filled with water, you could imagine pouring it out the front of the bowl. As you forward tilt, the pubic bone drops down towards the floor. As you back tilt, you could imagine pouring the water out the back of the bowl. The tailbone will come closer to the floor. You can almost imagine it coming underneath you a bit. And you'll rock towards the back of the sit bones. And then you can find some circular motion, combining the swaying between the sit bones and the pelvic tilts. So if you think about that as a movement through those 4 bony touch points, left sit bone to tailbone to right sit bone to pubic bone and back to the left sit bone if you're moving counterclockwise. Or pubic bone to right sit bone to tailbone to left sit bone to pubic bone if you're moving clockwise. And whichever direction you are moving, go ahead and change. And then you can start to exaggerate more, bring the rib cage into it. Maybe bring the head and the neck into it in whatever way feels just intuitive for you. Changing directions. And then back up to a seat. You can imagine all 4 of those bony touch points pressing down. So push the sit bones actively down into the floor to lengthen the spine up. Pubic bone drops, tailbone drops. So we find a neutral spine, neutral pelvis. And we'll start to deepen the breath. So the inhales will move down, filling up pelvis, low belly, low back, and then rib cage. And the exhales will empty out from the top down. You could come into Ujjayi breath, closing off the back of the throat, just enough to slow the breath down to create some vibrations, some sound. It's not aggressive, it's not something that someone in the next room could hear, but it's enough sound, enough texture to grab your attention, like a little like, hey, pay attention. And then we're going to bring the soles of the feet together, knees wide, coming into Baddha Konasana. You could elevate your seat here if it's harder to find a neutral pelvis with your feet in this position. bring the sit bones up onto a blanket so it's a little easier for the pubic bone to drop down. And we'll bring the right hand off to the side, left hand up onto the thigh. And the heel of that hand is like right at the top of the thigh bone, right below the hip point there. A little pressure down and out with the hand. And the thigh bone can resist that pressure just a bit. Will help to traction the thigh out. And as you breathe here, can you imagine length moving out of the hip, down the thigh bone, and out the knee? And is there anything in the tissue under your hands that could soften a bit? So if you notice that there's a lot of resistance coming up, how can you start to unwind that? You can play around with moving your rib cage a bit here and see how that changes the sensation. You can move the hand a little further down the leg, or down the thigh rather. And then come back up to a seat. Notice if anything has shifted, any differences between the two sides. And then we'll bring the left hand down, right hand onto the top of that thigh bone. And at first, we press down with the hand and the thigh will gently resist up, helping to traction the thigh bone out. And then after a few breaths, can you really start to feel for relaxing what's under the hand? And there might be some movement of the rib cage that makes this more interesting for you. Come up to a seat. Let's fold forward any amount. And as you walk your hands forward, you think about trying to find or maintain the length along the front side of the body. So the pubic bone is going to drop down and back like it's trying to curl underneath your pelvis. And the front of the spine will grow a little longer. can gently fold down. Follow your next exhale to the bottom of the breath, and then inhale will roll you back up. Your knees back together, hands back behind you, just widen the feet, and we'll tick-tock the knees. Come up onto hands and knees. Tuck the toes under, pressing back through the heels, opening up through the soles of the feet. See how wide you can spread your toes as you do this. And then lift the knees up, drop down through the heels. Letting your heels be heavy towards the floor. So you get that nice stretch through soles of the feet, through the Achilles, lower part of the lower leg. And then we'll press into a standing forward fold. Knees can be as bent as they need to here. Letting your head be nice and heavy. And then we'll roll up to standing. Taking a moment here to sway between the feet, feeling your weight even in each foot. Heel, base of big toe, base of pinky toe. Get this kind of triangle of support underneath you. And then you can rock back between the balls of the feet and the heels, just like we did in our seat. And then you can combine those two, so you find a circular action through the foot. Still learning what balance feels like in so many different ways, physically, emotionally, my attention, all the things, post-baby here. All right, and then we're going to inhale and take the arms out. Take the feet a little wider apart. You're going to go ahead and grab onto the right wrist with the left hand, and we'll side bend over to the left, enough so that you pick that right heel up off the ground. So you kind of unroot that right leg. And then start to feel for sliding back down the right side of the spine, feeling the length kind of reach back down through the right side of the spine, right sit bone, right leg, until you can re-anchor that right heel. And then inhale back up to center. Arms can come down, just notice how you feel. If you roll the shoulders a couple of times. And then inhale, the arms will come back up. You're going to circle that left wrist with the right hand, and we'll side bend over enough, kind of leaning over enough that we unroot the left leg. So the left heel lifts up. And then as your body relaxes into this new length, you can start to actively reach down left side of spine, left sit bone, until finally we get that left heel back on the mat. And then inhale, arms come back up and back down. Let's inhale the arms up, and exhale, we'll dive down, arms wide, bending the knees if you need to, hands come to the floor. Inhale, lengthen your heart forward, pubic bone and tailbone reach back, spine nice and long. Exhale, fold. Press through the feet, inhale, stand up, arms up. And then like you're swimming, the arms will come down, feet nice and grounded, pushing into the floor. And we land nice and tall. And we'll do one more like that. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, long spine. Exhale, fold. Stand up, inhale. Exhale. Hands to the heart for a moment. Samasthiti, the inner feet together, thighs together, palms together. And then we'll take a step out wide for triangle pose, Trikonasana. So your front toes point forward, back toes angle slightly in. Your heels can be in line, or you could have wider distance between the 2 feet. Inhale, take your left arm up. And as you reach the arm up, both legs are gonna press down so that you kind of push yourself away from the floor, getting all that nice length. So that downward energy in yoga, we call that the apana, helps to create this upward lift, this prana. And then we're gonna push off the back leg to reach as far forward as you can. See if you can feel like the back leg and your spine are one long muscle, and you could stretch it nice and long. And then the left hand will come down maybe onto a block on the inside edge of the foot. I like to pause here and then kind of reset. Think about from pubic bone to collarbones, nice and long. From tailbone to base of skull, nice and long. And then inhale, open up, right arm to the sky. Follow your next exhale to the bottom of the breath. And then we'll inhale, stand up. And we'll just change sides. Left toes turn in, right toes turn out. Inhale the right arm up to the ceiling. Legs push the floor away. And then if your pelvis was that bowl of water here, you're just gonna pour it all out over the front leg as you push off the back leg. Push off the back foot. Find your hand position, maybe on a block, maybe tented fingers, and then pubic bone to collarbones long, tail to base of skull long, and we breathe. Follow your next exhale to the bottom of the breath. And then inhale, stand yourself up. And we're just gonna change sides one more time. For revolved triangle, Parivrtta Trikonasana, inhale, take the right arm up. Hips are gonna face that left leg. Pour the bowl of water out the front, right over that left leg. And then go ahead and just bring both your hands down, maybe using your blocks here. Pause. Get long from pubic bone to collarbones, from tailbone to base of skull. And then inhale, take that left arm up. Can you still feel your back foot? Can you still feel your back heel? And can you remember what it felt like when we were in the standing side bend to slide the length down the side of the spine to then reground the heel? And can you do that same action here? Take one more breath in and then exhale. Left hand comes down, let the inhale take you up, and we'll just change sides. You can take your blocks with you. Left arm up. I'm gonna pour out the front of the pelvis, hands come down. Find your feet, nice and long through the legs, long through the spine. And then we'll take that right arm up. Exhale, the right arm down, inhale, left arm up, and we'll just bring the feet back together. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, fold. Long spine, inhale, exhale. Set the feet out wider than your hips, lowering down into a squat. You can sit down on a block here. Elbows along the inside of the legs, giving a little bit of resistance. The legs can resist back, just like when we were in Baddha Konasana. Lifting the spine nice and long. And then take the block out. Wide-legged forward fold. Reach back and just kind of move the flesh back and out from underneath the sit bones. Press down through the sit bones, get nice and tall. And then the pubic bone will drop down, almost like it's reaching underneath you. Finding that length along the front side of the body. Could use a bolster here, make it more of a restorative pose. If you don't have a bolster, blocks and a blanket. bottom of your next exhale. Start to make your way back up. Bring the legs back together. And we'll just set up for a nice supported Shavasana here. So blocks on the higher height. You can put a blanket or a bolster on top. And strap the thighs together if you like. For me, this is just a reminder to my legs that they don't have to do any work here. And I'll bring my legs up. Maybe some support under the head or neck. Let the weight of your bones sink down. Soften the contents of your belly. All those muscles. Let it go. Soften the muscles on your face. Soften your hands and feet. Soften your breathing. And when you're ready to move, take a longer breath in. Roll to either side if you have that strap. Remove it. And press up to a seat. Thank you so much.